Hello everybody, it's me, Nicole Virant, and my dog, Ziggy. Say hi, Ziggy. I wanted to start out real quickly with a little bit of a story. So as you know, we're all kind of cooped up in our houses, and I thought it would be a great idea to become a dog groomer because my dogs hadn't gotten a haircut recently, and so for $30, I figured, what the heck, this should be real easy. I'm gonna shave them, easy peasy. Unfortunately, I was ahead of the curve and I learned that I am not a dog groomer. And unfortunately, his hair looks terrible. So let that be a lesson to any of you thinking about doing haircuts or cutting other people's hair. It is dangerous. And luckily for Ziggy, he doesn't have to go out in public at all. So hello again, my name is Nicole Virant. Your professor has asked me to do a guest lecture on video since we are not meeting in person. Right now, I currently work as a social media specialist with Leonard and Finko Public Relations. And really today we're just gonna hang out and I'm gonna tell you a couple of stories about my career. And then just give you some just general advice. I am also an alum of UWGB. I graduated in 2008, yay. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for those of you watching. I know some of you probably will just ignore this, but those of you that are watching, hello, I'm excited to meet you. You can connect with me online. I do a lot on LinkedIn, as well as Twitter and some other channels as well. So if you want to connect after, that would be great. But yeah, let's get to it. So first thing that I'm going to talk to you about is just kind of my background and how I got to be where I am today. My background has primarily been in higher education, as well as a little bit of nonprofits, and then mainly with online marketing. And online marketing just sort of fell into my lap. It wasn't something that when I went to UWGB, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an expert on online marketing. It just sort of happened. So originally when I went to UWGB, I was a business major, majoring in marketing and a minor in sociology. And I discovered my senior year at UWGB that if you become a resident assistant, you can get free housing and food. And just like anybody else, free sounds really good when you're young. But as you get older, you realize that free always comes with some sort of a cost, whether it's your time, whether it's something else, but there's some sort of cost, even though it says free. So I was finishing up my undergrad and decided, hey, I really love working with college students. Let's see where student affairs will lead me. And so as a resident assistant my senior year, I decided I was going to go to a grad school program with an emphasis in higher education and leadership. And I interviewed with a couple of different grad schools across the country and selected University of the Pacific out in Stockton, California. And it met all my criteria. I had an Excel spreadsheet with all of my top values and things that I was looking for with the grad school piece, and then also just the other things that came along with it. And to me, that one seemed like the best option. Unfortunately, one of the lessons that I'm going to share with you all is that life doesn't really always work out like you think it's going to. And so my first year at grad school did not go so well. The program was easier than my undergrad. I didn't really seem to fit with kind of the values and the program itself. And so after I completed my first year, I decided this just was not the program for me. My husband at the time was working at a career college. He had just finished law school, and he said, hey, they happen to have some part-time business classes open. Would you be interested in teaching at this career college? And so I thought, you know what? Why not? It sounds like fun. So here I am in Northern California. I just dropped out of grad school and I start teaching at this career college. And all of a sudden I got a full-time job offer to teach at the career college, and things were going really well. Hey, no barking. Sorry, I have 2 dogs and they're naughty, especially when I'm trying to like do any sort of video calls or conference calls. That's my other one. That's Winnie. She's my old maid. I started teaching. I was teaching full time, and we decided, you know what? We want to have a family. We want to move back closer to Wisconsin because California was great. But if you know anything about California, it's expensive to live there, and your salary does not really coincide with the cost of living. So I accepted a job offer. A little bit of background on me is I worked pretty much full time through my undergraduate program as the director of sales at a local hotel. And then I quit that job when I became an RA my senior year. And so I decided I was going to get back into the hospitality industry because that's what I knew. And I accepted a director of sales position. So we pack up all of our things. We move back to Wisconsin. And lo and behold, I find out I'm pregnant. And we were trying, but you know, sometimes when you're doing that, you just don't realize like the timing of it. And starting a new job and notifying your employer that you're pregnant is not always the easiest because going into the interviews, I didn't know that. But then when I started, again, things took a turn for the worst, and my boss was not happy about that. And so that job didn't really work out. So let's fast forward a little bit now to further on my career. I did some teaching at another career college, Globe University. And from there, I also took on a community manager role. And what that role did is it oversaw social media, blogging, as well as community relations. So I got to work with legislators, communities, nonprofits. It was an awesome, awesome position. Reason why I loved it so much is every day was different, but it was a lot of fun. Then I was at the the Business Expo. It's an annual event that the Green Bay Area Chamber hosts every year. And I went up to a booth at NWTC to ask about taking a photography class to kind of enhance my skills. And lo and behold, they found out that I also taught Microsoft Office because I'm kind of a dork. And I'm like the Excel master. And so they're like, hey, we might have this Excel opportunity for you in a week. I literally get an email, and all of a sudden it's just this new opportunity to start doing corporate training as well as consulting over at NWTC. And so I've been working at NWTC for about the past 5 years or so. And then I also took another position working as a marketing and community relations coordinator for a local nonprofit. And now, currently, I work as the social media specialist over at Leonard & Finco Public Relations. So that was kind of a long story about my history. So those of you that are still here, thank you. And one of the points that I want to make with that is I'm a firm believer in the chaos theory of careers. And what that means is traditionally in the past, people went to the university for their career, and it was very linear. They went for their program, and then they worked in that job pretty much for the rest of their lives. Now, what we're seeing a lot is people have all sorts of different degrees and are working in all sorts of different fields. And so for you being a business student, or if you're a different major, that's cool too, but obviously the business students have a little special place in my heart. You have the opportunity to work in tons of different careers, which is great. So some of the other main principles of that theory is, number one, to be open-minded and curious and be proactive about exploring new opportunities. You never know when you might meet somebody or an opportunity might just fall into your lap. So definitely be interested in that and be open to that. Number two, don't be afraid to experiment with things. And then number three, take baby steps. If you find out that, hey, all of a sudden you have a big passion for helping foster kids or animals or whatever is kind of close to your heart, follow that and see where some of that goes. Sometimes you don't even realize what opportunities exist out there because you just have a narrow perspective, right? So that's where some of that stuff is really helpful. Two other things that I'd like to kind of leave with you as well as kind of food for thought and just sharing from my own experience is social media. I'm sure you are savvy and you know all about social media because you grew up on social media. But two things when it comes to social media. One is the absence of having public social media profiles can actually hurt your career. And when companies are researching you, they're not going to see the great credibility of who you are and what you can offer. So definitely, if you haven't already, make sure you take the time to curate your online presence and your online brand. Because at the end of the day, you have to sell and market yourself. And a brand doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be kind of this fake, prescribed sort of thing. It can be you, but you also want to demonstrate the skills and talk about some of the volunteer stuff that you might do or the achievements that you've had in college. Number 3 is be selective about jobs. Do your research, understand what is important to you and what you value most, and don't be afraid to turn down jobs because there's a lot of jobs out there, and ultimately you being happy is a big priority when it comes to jobs. I found that personally for myself. I've had jobs that have made tons of money, but they wanted me to work tons of hours, and then I didn't have time for my family, and that just didn't work for me. Number 4, my final and last piece of advice for you is make sure you get involved. If you're not already involved as a college student, get involved. There's so many opportunities, and good things will come from those opportunities that you don't even realize. So one of those examples would be from my life is getting involved with Current Young Professionals. It's a program through the Green Bay Chamber specifically for young professionals. And I was able to make new friends, learn new skills, and build my network of people that I can lean on and talk to. I actually also found a mentor through that program, and I just highly encourage it. So thank you all for watching. Like I said, if you'd like to connect on social, I am around, and I'd love to chit chat with you, and hope you all stay safe and healthy. And thank you again for inviting me to come talk to your class.